Hi, I'm Pete McCabe. Welcome to part 2 of Scripting Counts. We're taking a look at the idea of applying the principles of blocking used in the world of the theater and applying them to the false counts used in close-up card magic. In part 1, we took a look at the basic principles, what we're trying to accomplish, and we looked at a single Elmsley count example. So if you didn't see that, you should definitely go back and watch part 1 first. This will make a lot more sense if you've seen that. In today's episode, we're going to have a look at the complete Twisting the Aces routine. First, I'll show you how I would perform it for a lay audience. And then we'll go over and talk about every aspect in which I've tried to apply these principles of blocking and to try to see how many times we can use them to make the basic routine either more magical or easier for the audience to understand or more dramatic or all of those things. So this is Twisting the Aces. Let's have a look at a performance of Twisting the Aces. This is an unusual card trick. Most card tricks are based on some way on cheating at cards or some technique that cheaters use. I'm going to make 2 cards change places, which would be pretty handy in a poker game. Or you pick a card and I know exactly what it is, which would be pretty handy in just about any card game. In this one, nothing like that happens. I have the 4 aces. We're going to use just the 4 aces. And this is what happens in this trick. A card is going to turn over. They might turn face up. Sometimes they may turn face down. But that's all that happens. So magically, it's great because it's very simple and easy to follow and visual. But for a card cheat, they have no use for a secret move that would do that. And in this case, the secret move is also very suspicious. Depending on what suit you want, you touch one of the corners and give it a little flex. The outer left-hand corner is hearts. So the ace of hearts now should turn face up. I think it was second from the top. Yeah, there it is. The ace of hearts turns face up wherever it is in the packet. The next one, clubs, you can just push. You don't have to actually pinch it. And then the club, I think, is third from the top. Yeah, there we go. So the club gets face up when you do that. So that's all that happens. Cards turn face up and face down. Again, a card cheat wouldn't have any use for that, even if it didn't require this suspicious action, which for that one will give me diamonds. And so, yeah, there we have the diamond now is face up. So let me show you for the last one. Hold these cards for a sec. And I would hand them to the spectator. And then I would get the card case and get the cards out of it. And I have a spectator hold the card case just right here. I take the cards back from the spectator, whoever has been holding them. And the assisting spectator is going to hold the box right there. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions which are so obvious that it almost might seem insulting to you, but they are important, as you will see. The first question is, this first card is face down, yes? And they say yes. The second card is face down, yes? And they say yes. The third card is face down, yes? And they say yes. And the fourth card is face down, yes, yes. And the cards go into the box directly. The spectator closes the box. Now, the spectator closes and holds it. I get access to this fourth corner. And just with a squeeze, even though the spectator saw 4 face down cards go into the box, when they take them out, the ace of spades is now turned over. So that's Twisting the Aces. So there's a lot of ways in which I've tried to apply all the various stuff we talked about in part 1 to that routine. So let's break it down and have a look at every little detail. Let me start with a quick technical note. I don't do the ending the normal way, and it changes a little bit what's happening here. So I just wanted to go over that very quickly. After I get the cards back from them to be examined, I need to reverse the ace of spades. And I'm going to do a count, and I'm going to have it be the only card face up. I prefer to have it on that final spread, which the spectator is going to do. I prefer to have it be not at the bottom. If you start with it third and do a standard Elmsley, you will end up with the reversed card on the bottom. I'd rather have it be in the middle. So I'm going to start with the card on the bottom and then do a Jordan count, which is very similar to an Elmsley count. And if you can do an Elmsley count, you can learn at least a Jordan count. And that will produce this desired result. So I want the ace reversed on the bottom, and here's how I do it. I take the aces back in my hand, and as I gather them up, what I'm really doing, I'll expose this, is I've gotten the ace of spades is on the bottom, and it goes into a gambler's cop position in jogged from the rest of the cards, but you can't see it because of the way I'm holding them. So now I'm going to just take these cards and turn them over, but as you can see, perhaps if I do it like this, as you can see, I'm turning over just the top three onto the ace of spades. But it should all look, it should be very well covered from almost all of the angles. There's an additional cover provided that it's happening while I'm asking the spectator, hold the card box right there, please. And I put these back just a little lower, if you would, just a little lower. Perfect. So I'm trying to get attention on the card box at all times. And then I'm going to do the Jordan count at the end. But the basic idea is everything we'll talk about, the blocking and everything like that, is exactly the same regardless of whether you're doing a Jordan or an Elmsley count. Aside from that technical change, the rest of the routine handling is quite standard. So let's take a look at it point by point and see where I've tried to apply all of these principles at every place that I could. We start with displaying the cards, and now I'm going to introduce the presentation of that this is something that cheats can't use. I think this is A, true, and B, interesting. I know a lot of spectators have a vague understanding that there's a connection between card cheating and card magic, but they don't know quite what the connection is. So this is a vaguely relevant topic. I'm going to do the triple turnover, and then I'm going to do the single turnover, all as part of the method, while I'm talking about cards turning face up, sometimes face down, and provide cover for that. Now I'm going to motivate the cards into the right hand with the corner action. And this corner action provides a repeated motif throughout the routine, and it justifies getting the cards into the right hand. Now for the first count, I'm going to display the cards, and my goal is this outer corner gives me the ace of hearts, which I think is second from the top. So that one line motivates me going through the cards one at a time until I find the ace of hearts. And here it is, second from the top, I found it, and I'll display it to you. I'm not using the full display model of 1 out here and 2 out here because it doesn't fit the circumstance. I'm going to find the second card, and here it is, and then I'll put it in the display mode. So I'm establishing the display mode, and I'm also justifying the process of counting to those cards one at a time, displaying them one at a time to reach the one that I'm looking for. Now this next one is clubs. I'm going to use the same thing. I think that one's third from the top. So we should see, yeah, right there, it turns over right there. And same action, I'm going to count here until I get to the interesting one, and then I will display it for you in the display area. So now I'll reverse back. Again, this is not relevant to cheats, just to turn cards over. So we justify that action. And here we reach the philosophical point in the routine. I have the diamond. I can spread them. I don't have to do a count. A lot of magicians like to do a count because they want to keep the action consistent and because they don't want to cast suspicion on the previous counts. Why didn't he display all of them? I think that's certainly valid. Consistency of action is definitely important, I think. I wouldn't want to have a routine where you did a Biddle count and then an Elmsley count and then an Ascanio spread. That doesn't seem good. That doesn't fit what I like in magic. But I don't need to worry as much about making the first two non-spreads suspicious because they were justified in their own way. And if I spread here, I get another factor. This spread looks very natural and reasonable. The final ace, the spectator will pull the cards out and they are going to spread them. And so I can have the first two be one at a time displays and the last two be spreads. And that's useful because I want the spectators to remember that they were all spreads. I am going to switch to the spreading action as soon as I can. So I understand how consistency is important, but I think it's overridden here by the desire to change the spectators' memories, which is, if anything, even more important. So I get to the diamond and I show it, and now I hand the cards out to the spectator just to hold on to it. I assume while I'm doing that, they're going to be examining the cards because magic's been happening with these cards. But that's not why I hand them out. I don't mention examining. I'm just setting up the card case. And I get the card case set up here. I'm going to take the cards back. I'm going to do this turnover move, so I'm ready to go. And now I'm going to use all of the blocking features that I have. I've got the cards set in the right hand. The card case focuses attention. And I'm talking to the spectator about the questions I'm going to ask, which seems so obvious as to be almost insulting. And here we go, the first one. And I look at the first one and I follow the card out here to the display area. This card, this first ace, is face down, yes? I look up at the spectator and they say yes, yeah. And then I do the second ace is also face down, yes? Yes, and they have to say yes. I'm sorry, I know these questions are insulting, but they have to be. This third ace is face down. Yes, yes. And the fourth ace is face down. Yes, and the cards go into the card case. It's very important that you say this first ace and second, third, and fourth ace, so that now you can say to the spectator, you saw 4 face down aces go into that card case. And they say yes. And now, without you ever opening the card case, the spectator will close it. You just get them to hold it where you can reach this last corner and pinch it. And when they come out with their cards, they're all amazed. I hope to see that the ace of spades is now reversed in the pack. So that is the approach. A quick note about the climax. When a lot of magicians feel that twisting the aces because the last ace turns over and it's kind of the same as the first 3, that doesn't quite count as a climax, a very reasonable concern. And so the routines often get changed to where there's a royal flush climax, and that's a fine climax. But it's kind of not the same climax as twisting the aces is a trick. I think there's a bit of inconsistency there, that a lot of tricks that have a big punchy climax, but then it doesn't relate to the rest of the trick. My approach is different. I'm going to do, yes, the fourth ace is going to turn over. That's the climax. But to make it be a climax, I'm going to do it under test conditions. And if you can provide test conditions, which I think this trick does, then you have a climax in effect. But it is a climax of the exact same trick. There is no inconsistency there. So that, I think, is a very important part of tricks like this in general, that if you want to make a climax of it, you don't have to bring in some other thing. You can just have the last one be so absolutely clean and test conditions that it is just even more amazing than all of the rest. So that is twisting the aces. That's how I present it. That's why I've made all of the choices that I have made. I think if you make similar choices to your routines that use an Elmsley count, that you will find that they are better. If you can block them in such a way that it naturalizes displaying them one at a time when you need to. If you can naturalize having an offstage area and a display area where the attention is on the display area, but the magic happens in the offstage area, that you will find some benefits. And one benefit you'll get is that tricks will fool people more. But I think a better benefit you'll get is that the impact will be magnified because what's happening is much clearer. There's no confusion in the audience. Everything that you want them to understand for this trick is dramatized by the blocking, the way you move the actors around on the stage. So that is some of what blocking can do for you when you script your counts. Thanks for listening. Until next time.